It's been obvious from the very beginning that Claire's not going to help me to turn anything in. Brin put on a good show for. Well, she didn't, actually. She was going to help. She just didn't follow through. Nobody ever follows through. No matter how much abuse I go through, I have to go to women for help, and women don't care about men. There are no women in this country who care about you unless you're good looking and have money. Other than that, you're fucking trash for shitting on. There isn't a woman in this country who is going to listen to understand. When a woman wants help, we're expected to drop everything right now and help her. See, men are taught from birth that we're supposed to protect women and children. And women are taught from birth how to take advantage of us, how to manipulate, how to talk over us like we're dogs, like we're animals, how to play victim. We teach every single woman in this country how to play victim from the day they're born. Oh, you did something wrong and you got busted? It's a man's fault. Men did it to you. It's the patriarchy that made you be a piece of shit. Well, no, it's not. What made you be a piece of shit is you choosing to be a piece of shit. As far as Claire goes, all these people seem to think that buying me a sandwich or sending me some money instead of fucking listening is help. It's not fucking help. It's not going to do any goddamn good unless you know what the fuck is going on and you help call it in. See, there's all these services that I'm supposed to be eligible for and am eligible for, but it doesn't matter because nobody's going to observe my fucking rights because not a goddamn person cares. When people fucking get bitched at, people who tell me that they don't care what I'm going through, they're helping me by putting a roof over my head and bitching at me every time people come and fucking complain at them. These people who won't look at any fucking evidence, won't listen to my fucking story, but they'll listen to others and come be shitty at me over it. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of having to move my stuff from one place to another, trying to find a safe environment where I'm not taken advantage of. Sure, it's illegal to take advantage of me, but who gives a fuck? Is Claire ever going to actually give a fuck? Is she ever going to listen to understand? Is she going to interrupt me to say, all right, well, there's a possibility I could send you some money. What do you want me to spend the money on? What do you want to spend the money on? How about we not focus on any goddamn money at all? Okay? How about we focus on acknowledging that I have these fucking problems and helping me to turn this shit in? I don't have any fucking friends or family. And everybody wants to ask about that. Well, don't you have any family? No, I fucking don't. For the last 8 goddamn years, I've been explaining that. All my fucking family's gonna do is fucking rip me off. I don't have any real fucking friends. I have to depend on fucking drug addicts and drug dealers, alcoholics. I have no friends. I never did. I had people who took advantage of me because I'm fucking different. And it's that way everywhere I go. Everything must be my fault for being different. I'm not allowed to have any sort of reaction to being yelled at, to being screamed at. I'm not allowed to have any fucking reaction. I just have to take the goddamn abuse. Meanwhile, it's not fucking abusive if it's done to me. You'll make any fucking excuse why it's okay. Well, it's not fucking okay. It's fucking horse shit. I'm a goddamn human being. Jesus fucking Christ. I'm tired of getting fucking bitched at for trying to get fucking help. I'm tired of people fucking forcing me to spend all my money on shit that doesn't fucking work. I'm tired of wasting all of my money on people who aren't fucking spending anything to help me. I'm tired of wasting all my goddamn time on people who want to throw it in my face that I owe for a fucking sandwich. I'm tired of people talking over me and then telling me I just need to smoke a bowl. Hey man, you just need to smoke some weed. Just need to smoke some weed. No, the fuck I don't. I need a real goddamn friend, you fucking pieces of shit. You're all fucking trash, every goddamn one of you. There are no good fucking people in this world. I'm it. I am it. I'm all you get. Meanwhile, none of you give a fuck. You're too busy trying to fucking cater to drug addicts, hoping you'll get some pussy. I'm fucking tired of this. Sure, you sent me money. Does that make it okay that you never fucking come forward? That you never fucking listen? That you never fucking look at evidence? That you never make any calls with me? You just fucking procrastinate and make every excuse? I'm being harmed here. What are you doing about it? Talking about how maybe you'll do something in the future. I have to be afraid to tell people that I'm being fucking harmed, you pieces of shit. I hate this fucking country. I fucking hate it. Being under siege in the fucking country I was born in, Jesus Christ, that's fucked up. Alright, that don't work so well with my right hand. Brin is a night owl. She doesn't wake up until about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, but she might be up tonight because it's not the afternoon. Y'all don't try understanding that the longer it takes you to fucking procrastinate, the longer it takes for you to fucking... No, it's not my fucking fault that you pieces of shit never tried coming forward. Let's try calling Brin. She might be awake.
Hello?
Good morning. I've given up on trying to get a hold of you during the day. You there?
I've just been really busy today.
Yes, ma'am. I wish that people would understand. I have a time limit to get this done. Chris Stafford has done this 4 more times since you saw him do it, and I keep having to see Wolnez every day. Every other day, actually, on average.
How does he even find you?
He's got a bike, and I'm stuck in a very small area because I have mobility issues.
Okay, but how does Chris keep finding you?
Same thing, I'm stuck in the same area. I can't go far.
Well, that's fair.
Yeah, plus it's a pretty small town. I'm basically stuck within a 6-block radius of where I'm at, and that's if I'm willing to spend a half an hour to 45 minutes walking there.
Yeah.
I also noticed you guys finally moved. Did they tell you?
No, we had to move or else they were going to tell us.
Yeah, that's the guy in the house next door that was angry about that. He set up a camera to try to catch people sleeping, apparently.
Yep.
Yeah, he came over and was telling me that it's nothing against me, that it was people like you guys in the camper that were just living there that were the problem. I'm like, yeah, well, the people at the safe or at the library told me a different story.
What did they say?
They said that the people across the street were complaining about me and my car in specific.
I don't understand why he's complaining because nobody's been loud.
It's because he's got kids, and because those heroin addicts parked there for days in a row, getting fucked up and sitting there all fucked up with the door open, looking like a couple of corpses.
It's still not right. When people are in a pinch,
Kick them when they're down. That's what I'm having to deal with. Literally every one of my friends and family had a history of taking advantage of me, and after Natalie was killed, they kicked me while I was down. After I hurt my back and I couldn't perform manual labor, I didn't matter anymore. And then once I got disability money, then people wanted to help me until my disability money was gone. And that's how it's been ever since I got disability money. I don't have a friend or family member who cares if I'm taken advantage of. And obviously, none of these government people are going to give a shit unless a friend or family member actually cares. But I was going to see if there's any way possible you might be able to help me with some paperwork tomorrow. I'd like to be able to press charges against the people that are harming me, and these protection orders aren't good enough. The protection orders don't turn in the assaults.
right.
It also doesn't turn in the police misconduct.
Right.
One of the big things that all the professionals that I'm talking to are wanting to push is they're trying to pretend it's not misconduct unless they physically assault me. Well, misconduct.
They physically assault you too.
Do what?
I said, but they physically assault you too.
Yep, and that's the point with the police is they keep calling me a liar every time I try to turn that in. Like, you're not the only witness to it, just that every single one of the witnesses, I'm supposed to, as a disabled person, I'm supposed to go to a friend or family member first, and they're supposed to turn it in with me right away. And we're supposed to have
That's
that.
not how it works.
Do what?
That is not how it works.
Well, that's how it's supposed to work for a disabled person. These are the instructions that I've been given to follow. The problem is that the government doesn't follow the protocols when it's a homeless person. They don't see you as any different from me. You might as well be just a low down, dirty tramp as well.
Mm-hmm.
But what they're supposed to do, they're supposed to have a caseworker assigned to me, and that caseworker is supposed to work with me. As far as a contingency plan goes, um, in order to prevent the abuse, one of the things to prevent abuse is to have a friend or family member that you can call right away. Because if you can call it in right away, then you can get something done about the abuse before it gets out of hand. And they have mediators that are supposed to get involved at that point because it's a lot easier to deal with this stuff and say, hey, just stop bullying the disabled dude. Just leave him alone. And a lot of times, if you get somebody that'll talk to them, make them listen like adults, talk to them, and that's literally what it takes when you're a disabled person to get heard. Now, optimally, we should be able to go to the police, tell them that we were just assaulted, and the police do their job right away. But the reason that we have to go to a friend or family member first is because cops aren't going to do that for a disabled person, especially if he's male, especially if he's broke, especially if he's homeless.
Well, they just don't care about the homeless in general.
That's very true.
I'm a female and homeless, and they are still the same way with me.
Well,
they don't get it.
It's a little bit different for you because there's a lot of services specifically set up to help women. Like, for example, if I go to Helping Hands about abuse and about being stalked, especially when it's a woman and her friends that are stalking me, I'm going to get blown off. Not Helping Hands, Tides of Change. I'm going to get blown off because it has to be an intimate partner relationship or they don't get involved. Meanwhile, if a woman says that she's being stalked by a dude who she wasn't an intimate partner with, they'll still help her. It's completely sexist. There's also 10 services just for women nationwide for every one service that's co-ed. There are no men's only services. They do have men's only halfway houses, but you have to be a felon recently released from prison for that. Or you have to be a part of a drug treatment program. Meanwhile, those drug treatment programs have a mirror for women for each and every one of them. So if there's a felon program for recent releases, they're going to have that same exact program for women.
Mm-hmm.
But women are less likely to get a heavy sentence. A male teacher who gets caught having sex with a student spends on average 40 years. A female teacher who has sex with a student spends on average 8 months. That's why last year there was 55 female teachers who got busted having sex with the students. They got slapped on the wrist. That's the reason they keep doing it. Only 5 men last year only 5 male teachers were accused of having sex with their students. And they made a real big deal about those 5 male teachers. Anyway, with the Chris Stafford stuff and with the safety issue with the police, those both need to be brought up at the same time because the police created this safety issue. They're not going to investigate it. They're not going to find that anybody who harms me did anything wrong.
Well, we'll fix that. We'll figure something out. Tomorrow, let's see, I know that, I have to help somebody with their kiddo at 11. I mean, not 11, but at 12.
I think the library... Oh, go ahead.
Well, I have to take a kiddo to a school tomorrow at 12. If they are, if we come back before the library closes, which I believe closes at 4, yeah, I would be willing to go over there and help you.
Well, the only thing we really have to have the library for is to look at electronic evidence.
Yeah.
But as far as filling out the paperwork, we don't actually need the library for that.
Right.
Also, for hearing my story, we don't need the library for that either. And that's where a lot of people keep messing up, is they want to make suggestions and jump through hoops before they know what's going on. And
Yeah.
for me, I basically get pressured into doing things that are against my best interest because of that. A lot of times people want to interrupt me at the same part of my story because they have an instant fix. And the reality is I don't need them to try to focus on fixing anything at that point. I just need them to listen so that they're aware of what's going on. And then we can make more informed decisions. But most of the time, I'll have to repeat something 8 to 10 times because somebody, literally, we get to the same part of the story and they interrupt me again to say something they've already said 30 times. And as a victim of abuse, like, that's the worst thing that you can go through, is trying to tell your story to somebody who's sidetracked, somebody who's stuck in la la land, or somebody who's got trauma of their own that they want to bring up. And that doesn't help hear the victim's story, and it doesn't help turn it in right away. And a lot of times what I end up doing is somebody will hear a couple of sentences out of me and it'll remind them of some experience they had, and then they go off on that experience trying to let me know that they understand, when in reality, if they understood, they wouldn't be talking at all. They'd be listening to understand. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's hard to fix a story if you don't know what the story is.
Yeah.
Kind of like, if you go into the hospital, the way they use mental illness is if you go into the hospital and they call you mentally ill, you're automatically treated like you're basically schizophrenic. It's a blanket thing.
Unfortunately, that is very true.
Well, fortunately, there's a lot of people in town who know it's very true. Wolnez has been harassing the people. Because I had to turn it in this way instead of having a friend or family member turn it in and press charges with me, I had to give over the paperwork from some of the witnesses to Andrew Wolnez. He didn't provide anything. So he's just trying to drag it out and stretch it out.
Yep.
Meanwhile, I still can't do anything about Chris Stafford. I still can't do anything about Andrew Wolnez. I still can't do anything about any of the other people. And Andrew Wolnez gets to threaten, harass, and intimidate the other witnesses because the cops didn't want to do it the right way with Molly. When I first got here almost a year and a half ago now. I got here in August of 22.
I hate the way that people treat people.
Me too. On the bright side, I bully them back. On the not so bright side, I shouldn't have to. That's not what I should have to do to get heard.
That's true.
And one of the things is like the thing with Chris Stafford that happened on, was that the 2nd or the 3rd? If I don't turn it in right away, then the police treat me like I wasn't trying. Meanwhile, I've tried repeatedly to turn it in. They just talk over me, tell me they're too busy. They want to give me tickets for being parked, but when I bring up the assaults that I'm enduring, they want to talk over me or tell me they're too busy. They're not too busy. They just don't want to do their jobs, but they don't have a choice in the matter because I'm a disabled person. So, of course, they change it. Magically, I'm not disabled when it doesn't suit them. And then when it means they can deprive me of rights, I'm magically mentally ill again.
Yep.
On the bright side, I'm not a short, fat kid covered in pimples anymore.
That's fair.
Yeah, I wish we didn't live in a country that's so superficial like that, though.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I didn't mind. Go ahead.
Unfortunately, it's not just here. It's
Everywhere.
worldwide.
Everywhere I've ever lived, people are superficial like that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get people to understand that if it's not turned in right away, the police will make any excuse, the courts make any excuse, and then they separate this stuff and compartmentalize it and pretend that none of these issues are related. Obviously,
Yeah.
with Chris Stafford and Andrew Wolnez citing Natalie Bollinger by name, obviously this is an issue that needed to be remedied a long time ago. Now, with both of them bragging about the fact that they know I didn't kill Natalie, they're just playing head games with me. That is something that, it does need to be turned in right away before they get the opportunity again.
Yeah.
So I'd like to do, if you're able to tomorrow, is focus on writing down 3 reports about the assaults. One of them about Wolnez, one of them about Stafford, and I can't remember who the other one for. I'm just overwhelmed. I'm glad that you finally answered though, because it's tough getting a hold of you during the day.
Yeah, I'm sorry. The last few days, I've been kind of on a crazy schedule. I came over to my friend's place because she had to go to the ER, and I've been kind of keeping an eye on her kids and getting them off to school and getting them back home from school.
I wish I could get a hold of the Scudders. They got a busy schedule.
Yes, they certainly do. It is almost impossible to get a hold of them.
Yep, they're witnesses to the very first abuse that I had to endure in this town from Molly. Well, they're witnesses to about 6 weeks in, because Molly was beating on my vehicle the same as Andrew Wolnez was. She just wouldn't let up.
Ridiculous.
Yes, ma'am. Anyway, I gotta get a protection order against Chris, or turn in the crimes against Chris Stafford, Andrew Wolnez, and John Napier, I think is what his name is, the one that assaulted me on the 1st at the Shell station.
Uh-huh.
I got to turn that in. I did talk to the lady at the Shell station. The boss's lady is Shayna. She said that the cops have to come ask for the body, or for the, not body camera evidence, for the cameras there.
Yeah.
They can't just give it to me. One of the guys that works there, his name is Tyler, and he's a witness to the situation. And there's another lady who works there. Her name is Amy. She wasn't there for all of it, I don't think, but she was able to hear part of it. Oh, were you able to watch the Andrew Wolnez videos that I sent already?
Not all of them, but some of them.
I tried not to send you so many that you'd get overwhelmed, but there's literally thousands of them, and that's one of the things with getting people to look at it in person.
Yeah.
All these different agencies are supposed to take a look at my living conditions. Not a single one of them has made an effort. They want to pretend that I can just do all this stuff from inside of my vehicle while being harassed, while having rocks as big as my head being thrown through my windows. everything that I have, because I'm constantly moving one place to another, is packed up as if I'm moving from one place to another. I don't get the time or the space to actually pull everything out like I need to and organize it properly. So that's something that the courts are supposed to pay attention to. And the same thing with the police, the same thing with these other mandated reporters.
Yeah.
So I got a whole list of places that need to be called, but as far as the government goes, they don't consider that you did anything unless you do it on paper. So it's important to write out the paper stuff before calling the cops, which, depending on who you are, if you're a pretty white girl in a house, rich husband, and a nice sports car to cruise around in, well, the police will listen to you. They'll even break the law to help you get protection orders. But if a man's actually being stalked, there is no help. We have to hope we won't do what?
I was gonna say, but if you're homeless, they won't listen no matter what.
Yeah, and that's one thing that Claire was talking about too. Like, her kids were straight up abducted and kidnapped and taken to Florida. So the people here literally helped a predator steal her children, drag them literally from one end of the country to the other. And the things that he did to them are things you don't do to children.
Right.
So Claire's a big part of my story, but she's also, well, she sent me some money, but I need her words more than her money.
Right.
She wasn't able to make it the other day because they had a power outage, and all this stuff is stuff that's believable, but it's not stuff that they're coming forward with to the courts.
Right.
Kind of like you having all your stuff for the last 2 weeks going on.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Does that make you an evil person, though?
No.
No, it doesn't. I agree. And that's one of the things where I get treated by many people when I say, hey, you know what? You were going to help me, but this happened. Stop blaming me, Sean. It's not my fault. Stop blaming me, when I'm exactly doing the opposite. I'm sticking up for them. Like, hey, I believe you. Yeah. But the courts aren't going to believe me unless you come forward.
Right.
Kind of like a lot of the witnesses, they say, oh, Sean, they're not going to listen to me, I'm a felon. Or they're not going to listen to me because I had a drug charge in 1986. And here's me going, you know what? My predators got drug charges last year and the year before and the year before that. Ted Bollinger, one of my predators, and Natalie Bollinger's predators, gets busted with methamphetamines and illegal firearms every year. He's still free. He's also a 3-time felon, 5-time felon. Yeah. Every time him and Natalie's twin sister, Alicia, go on a bender and do something, so they're being threatened. And I got to deal with people getting a hold of me to threaten my life and threaten my family's life. So I've been trying to show people the evidence that what I'm saying is true with the phone that was broken like a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks ago now. It makes it so that I literally have to have my computer plugged in because the battery doesn't work in order to even record on my YouTube channel.
Right.
The other thing is, the reason that I record live is because there's been so many instances with the police where they've literally arrested me, and even though the evidence was there that they committed a felony, they weren't going to let me have that evidence back unless I pled guilty to a crime I didn't commit.
Which is entirely wrong.
Yep, it's also a felony for them to send me to predators to turn in my predators to my predators. That means every time that I tried to turn in Lynn Lothman, that Lynn Lothman showed up, the people who sent him, knowing that there was a safety issue, committed a felony. The same thing with the people who kept on sending Officer Martinez. That'd primarily be 911.
Yeah, well, Lothman is a problem with himself. unfortunately.
Yeah, Liz was telling me that he's her uncle and that he's a pedophile, but she couldn't tell me who the child was that he supposedly did that to.
Liz?
Yeah, Liz. Do what?
You said Liz.
Yep. She's one of the homeless ladies out here.
Uh-huh.
But she said that Lothman was her uncle and that he was also a pedophile, but she couldn't tell me who it was that he was supposedly had done that to. So, I mean, basically, it's just an accusation without a victim.
Are you talking about a girl that lives in a tent and she has a couple of dogs and a couple of cats?
I don't know if she has a couple of dogs and a couple of cats. I do know that she wears a camo jacket.
And long hair, usually up.
Dark hair? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yep. And then there's
a little bit shorter than I am.
Yep.
Really thin.
Not really thin.
Well, she's fairly thin, I should say.
Yes, ma'am.
Uh-huh. That's my sister.
Ah.
Don't believe a word she says.
Well.
I'm serious. That's my sister. Lothman is not her uncle.
That's good to know. That's one of the things about referencing and cross-referencing. The cops will literally believe anything that anybody says about me, but I like to know for sure. The situation that Ashley was telling me, I do believe her, and the lady that disappeared over a year ago that was telling me that Lothman raped her, I do believe her, but I haven't seen her since she told me the story. She said he was supposed to give her a courtesy ride home.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Lothman is also the police officer that told me that it was a civil matter when somebody assaulted me with a bamboo stick.
That's not a civil matter. That's if you're living with the person, it's domestic assault. If not, it's assault with a deadly weapon.
Yeah. See, the reason why he said that is because he said that he has to treat us like we are neighbors because our tents are across from each other.
Any excuse not to do their job. It's kind of like, all right, one of the tricks that they use is if, as a disabled person, a friend or family member is supposed to turn it in.
Yep.
So for me, with literally having to depend on a friend or family member to turn it in when everybody keeps just talking over me, makes it impossible. There was a point with Lothman, though. Oh yeah, they say like when you try to turn it in when a disabled person is harmed, they have to do something about it. But instead, what they'll do is they'll tell the other witnesses, they'll tell them, oh, well, you can't turn it in for somebody else. Well, they can make a voluntary statement. Anybody can. And the police have literally lied to every one of my witnesses. And then those witnesses get back a hold of me and regurgitate the same crap the cops told them. I'm like, you know what? The cops, all the things they're saying they can't do, they let the Bollingers do. They let sex offenders and rapists do these things. They let drug addicts and drug dealers do these things. If a drug addict and a drug dealer can turn me in for screaming on YouTube, then I should be able to turn them in for threatening to kill me and my friends and family. I should be able to turn them in for physically assaulting me. And what Lothman did there is a felony. It's against the law for him to do that. Especially in the state of Oregon. The way the laws are written here in Oregon, we all have an incredible amount of rights. With the way that they're using it, well, they're taking away our rights. The term mentally ill, whether you're mentally disabled or physically disabled, by calling you mentally ill, they're calling you mentally disabled, which means they have to afford you the rights of a mentally disabled person. That doesn't mean pawning you off on therapy when you're trying to turn in assault, which is what they do. They changed it. All right. The best way I can explain it, a comedian named Bill Burr, who I think is an asshole, said it like this. When it comes to a woman, if she's winning the argument, then she'll stay on point and she'll make sure that you stay on point. She will be the most reasonable person out there. But if she's losing the argument, she'll start bringing up stuff from 20 years ago. She'll start bringing up stuff that didn't happen. She'll start talking about all sorts of crazy stuff that is off topic. She will go out of her way to become the most irrational and unreasonable human being on the planet. Now, as far as agreeing with that, I don't necessarily agree with it because there's lots of women who are not like that. Most of them are not interested in men, which is helpful.
Yeah, that's true.
But the situation that I'm dealing with is that people keep calling me up and saying, "Oh, I tried to turn it into the police. They said I can't turn in a crime against somebody else. I can't turn it in for somebody else." And with each and every one of these people, I have to remind them, "Hey, I told you not to turn in anything by yourself. I can't just take your word for it to court, especially when you're not coming forward, when you're not writing it down, when you're not speaking up." A lot of people, I recorded conversations with them after literally months and some of them years after they never came forward, after they promised to. And then they do that whole, "Oh, stop blaming me" thing. As a disabled person, it is never my fault that people harm me. And when I go for help, it is never my fault when people don't help me. It is the fault of my friends and family that they choose not to help. And if they're going to call themselves friends or family, they do need to help, or they need to stop calling themselves friends or family.
Correct. That's very true.
Meanwhile, some lady randomly looking out her window got to see Chris Stafford being an asshole to me, and lo and behold, here I am talking to you instead of my long-term friends that I had for 20 years or longer. All of them threw me away like trash after Natalie was killed. Most of them threw me away like trash as soon as I hurt my back. Once I was no longer able to do manual labor for them for free. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So now I'm basically hopping around from one abusive situation to another. A lot of these people don't intend on being abusive. You know, a lot of the addicts out here have actually helped me to get stuff back when it was stolen. They've helped to stop the physical assaults that began with the police. So, I mean, you know, I do have to have at least some respect for the drug addicts out here, more so than the cops.
Yeah.
But also, they still take advantage of me.
Yeah.
Well, Nez ran around all the homeless people here trying to get them all up in arms and hating me. And Ashley, well, I'd already gotten to show her some of this stuff with Natalie, so she knew it was bullshit. And when Molnez was trying to run down there telling them that I'm a child molester and a rapist and a murderer, Ashley already knew that it was bullshit, and she called him out on it. Even though she was mad at me, she still did the right thing.
Yeah. Chris was also trying to tell my friend that, and I corrected her and told her I have seen proof that he's not.
Yep, that's one of the things about showing people the actual conversations with me and Natalie. Once they see those, everything else that they've heard goes out the window.
Yeah.
One lady, she was hating me real seriously because she heard one of these Natalie Bollinger things, and she was writing some real nasty stuff to me. So I sent her some of the conversations with me and Natalie, and she apologized. She said, everything they said about you is a lie. I'm like, well, not everything. I am homeless.
Yeah.
But just like a lot of people, she promised to help turn in the stuff that she'd seen. And after months and months and months of her getting on my channel and just typing pretty words at me and making it about her, that's what she did for the most part, was make everything about her. I was finally like, you know what? Either you help me turn it in or I'm blocking you.
Yeah.
A lot of people end up getting blocked on my channel because they're not helping me to turn it in. They're just playing head games. They're promising they're going to. They get on my channel and they want to distract me. They don't want to hear my story. One of the things about recording live is that it's out there for everybody to see.
Yeah.
One of the bad things about being recorded live is that none of my friends or family members want to look at it or listen to it. But my predators spend a lot of time doing that. My friends and family don't want to work together to help me to get to a safe environment. But those people work together to guarantee that I don't have a safe environment. Meanwhile, nobody has done more harm to police than my friends. See, it isn't all of these drug addicts harming me that makes me want my life to end. It's the fact that people blow me off for weeks, months, or even years at a time. And literally in that entire time, don't bother to get a hold of me and find out what's going on. They say, oh, I hope you're doing well, when Facebook gives them a notification that it's my birthday. But other than that, yeah, nobody cares.
I wasn't blowing you off, I promise. Just busy.
Well, that's the thing with having literally thousands of people who have done this. Some of them are busy, some of them are blowing me off. But if it's important, people aren't be busy. They're going to make the time. And that's one of the things that I've been trying to get people to understand is that, let's say you wanted to go to a party this weekend. Your best friend, and I have to use the example of rape because if I say any other crime, people say, oh, just let it go. But if I say rape, they'll actually stop and listen for a couple extra seconds.
Right.
But if you had a party you were planning on going to this weekend, and your friend gets a hold of you and tells you she was raped, are you going to help her to turn it in? Or are you going to say, well, I got a party to go to, but maybe after the party?
I'm going to help my friend.
Yep. Well, my friends chose to go to parties. And then a week later, they were going to another party. They'd promised to help me, but then there's always another party. And then eventually they get pissed off at me and say, you know what, Sean, I was thinking about helping you, but you're always negative. Meanwhile, I'm not always negative. I'm being very positive about this. If I can get a friend or family member to actually listen and help, then things can turn out better. But those people have to realize how much of my finances have been raped out of me, stolen from me, and how that affects my future because that affects my credit score. It affects my ability to get into housing.
Exactly, yeah.
Also, the crimes that I committed, they're well within my legal rights to do so because I didn't go above and beyond. That's one of the things about having to commit a crime to protect yourself. Let's say somebody is shooting a BB gun at your feet. You're not allowed to pull out a Colt 45 and blow their head off. But if somebody pulls out a Colt 45 and is trying to kill you and your family, you are well within your rights to shoot back.
Yeah.
Obviously, when people are hitting me, I'm not hitting them back.
Right.
When people want to come up with solutions rather than come up with the solution of what they should do, which is help to turn it in right away, they want to come up with the solution of having their boyfriend beat somebody up or having their husband beat somebody up. And when I tell them, no, I don't want that, they say, oh, well, come back when you want to do it my way. Nobody wants to try turning it in the legal way.
Right.
Then with Chris Stafford, he's one of those people that I had to ask people not to assault him. Same thing with Andrew Wolnez. Like you can hear in video. Do what?
my My brother just sneezed and I was telling him, bless you.
Oh. Yeah, the thing with Andrew Wolnez and Chris Stafford is that these are both ongoing issues with men who have threatened my life. Both of them have access to firearms. At least one of them's a felon. Both of them have a history of child abuse. Both of them have a history of spouse. Do what?
I didn't know that Chris had child abuse issues.
I might be wrong about that one. I know that he's got physical assault issues with a lot of different people, not just his ex, and she had to get a protection order against him.
Yeah.
But, yeah, as far as Wolnez goes, several of his family members have gotten a hold of me to let me know that he is physically abusive, especially towards women.
And from what I am understanding, he also is involved in drugs and stuff too.
I'd heard that as well from a few of the addicts out here, actually.
I have heard that from a dealer.
I've only heard it from two of the dealers out here, but a lot of the addicts out here are kind of addict/dealers. Like, if they get some and they share with their friends tonight, maybe their friends will share with them tomorrow night kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that guy, John Stevens, he got to be there for one of the times when Wolnez was beating the crap out of my vehicle, and he told me later on that he was going to try to talk to me in private because Andrew Wolnez has some powerful friends. He also was telling me that he hated going over there to get his drugs from Andrew because he has to sit through half an hour of Andrew talking shit about women just so he can spend 2 minutes measuring out on a scale the drugs that he wants.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things with John. John was actually down with helping to turn that in, sort of, if it weren't for the fact that it cuts off his access to drugs.
Right.
So, yeah, getting the cops to actually listen, that's going to require getting the state involved because obviously you're a witness and there's a lot of other witnesses who have been threatened and harassed. There's also a lot of witnesses who didn't come forward after promising that they would, and I ain't going to lie, I was an asshole to them.
That's fair. I mean, sometimes you have to be, especially when you need to be heard.
A lot of the people who are mad at me, like Candy at the Safeway, who's super sweet, and Cynthia at the Safeway, who's also super sweet.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that I'm mad about is that they didn't come forward even when they said they would. They dragged it out for as long as possible. And when I was trying to tell them what was going on, they just wanted to keep on making those suggestions. Right. If they haven't had to go through it, that's not my fault, and I do try to be patient with them. But when they're telling me to be patient, they don't understand that when you're being assaulted by somebody, patience is not a virtue.
No. Exactly.
Patience helps the predator to get away.
Right.
And the longer it takes for them to help turn them in, the more likely it is that evidence is going to get lost or stolen, especially since I'm homeless. And also, there's relationships that are going to deteriorate because of the stresses of this situation.
Right.
And then there's the fact that people's memories over time degrade. And if they're mad at you, a situation that they can remember just as if it happened yesterday. The moment they're angry at you, they don't remember as if it happened yesterday. They remember it as if they're angry and they want to take vengeance on you.
Yeah.
I had one guy who said, Sean, out of everybody I know, you are the furthest from being schizophrenic or delusional. But then when I told on him for having sex with a 14-year-old girl when he was 26, sorry, 23, he's like, yeah, Schwartz, you're fucking schizophrenic. I'm like, I know Jamie. I knew Jamie before he did.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm sorry for calling you this late at night while having a panic attack, but you're actually helping me not to have one.
No, you're perfectly fine. I'm sorry I haven't replied.
That's all right. I mean, it's not. It makes my anxiety go through the roof, but that's one of the things with when it has the preventative measures on my paperwork to prevent this stuff from happening to me. Yeah. It addresses my friends and family first. It says to keep in contact as often as possible. I'm supposed to try to get a friend that can call me every day and make sure I'm okay. Claire wasn't able to call today for whatever reason.
Well, I'm glad that I get your messages when, because I do end up seeing them, and then I go to start replying, and a kid would sidetrack me, and I forgot to reply and send the message.
Life happens, don't it?
Yes.
Well, I get treated like those are all delusions that I made up unless people speak up about it. And that's one of the main problems with people who want to help is they don't understand the power of their voice. They're constantly saying things like, oh, they're not going to listen to me, for whatever reason they want to come up with. But the thing is, if you do it together, they have to listen. And that is the law. 3 people is enough for them to have to do their jobs. So I was hoping I might be able to get you and Claire to work together, but with her being snowed in and the power outage there, and then immediately after that, there was a power outage here this morning.
There was?
There was, but only on this portion of the block because one of the transformers blew this morning.
Really?
Yeah. Luckily, there was a guy who works for the power department who heard it happen, and he called it in and got it fixed.
That's a good thing.
I'm trying to smoke tobacco out of a pipe.
That sucks.
It does. It keeps making me cough like a mofo. Of course, I cough just off of cigarettes themselves, too, so it's not like it's just because I'm smoking it out of a pipe, but it's harsher out of a pipe.
Why don't you get a pack of smokes?
I did get one, but all right, so there's some folks from Venezuela who are visiting, and they don't have their own cigarettes, so they come in and use the bathroom periodically through the night, and I'll go to sleep with with half a pack of cigarettes, and I'll wake up with 2 of them left in the morning.
Oh goodness.
Yeah, so I'm trying to pay for other people's habits, and it's getting expensive.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was hoping you might be able to try to force some time tomorrow to be able to write out some stuff with me, write out a statement of your own about what happened that day, and then maybe help finish the paperwork with Stafford.
The paperwork with Stafford is done. All you have to do is sign it.
It's already signed, but it still has to be turned in, and I can't turn it in alone either.
Right.
There's also like 11 or 12 different instances that we could write down on that. I just have to be able to dig them out. Because the first instances of him threatening my life were like 8 or 9 months ago. him telling people that he was going to beat me up, him telling people he was going to shoot me. And obviously, you know, with him continuing to throw rocks at my vehicle and scream all that nasty stuff at me, you know, obviously the situation with him isn't over.
Right.
Also, the stuff the cops told me to do didn't work.
What did they tell you to do?
Ignore him.
Ignore him?
Yep. They also told me to go to mental health. They told me to go to TFCC. They told me to go to Tides of Change. They told me to go to Helping Hands. They told me to go to Northwest Senior and Disability Services. They told me to call the emergency or the non-emergency number. They told me to call 988. They told me to call 211. Like literally anybody other than them. Meanwhile, I asked both judges whose job it is to do this. They both said that it's the cop's job. Meanwhile, this is during court dates that I only have because I tried to turn in these cops for not doing that job. As far as your sister goes with the Lothman thing, I can understand that. I would like to get Ashley's story because officers can't be doing that.
Yeah, I agree.
Also, we can't be forced to go to our predators to turn them into themselves. That's not acceptable either. If my little sister...
Good night, nephew. I was walking past my nephew and he's all like, I don't care, it's 2:30 in the morning, or whatever, 30 in the morning. Yeah, 2:30 in the morning, and I'm cooking chicken.
I just found a bullet that's probably older than I am.
Serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's so old that the lead on top of it is turned to powder.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm going to try holding it up to my camera and see if it'll take a picture. Obviously, it's not going to go off. There's no powder in it. There's a big old hole in the side of the casing.
Right.
Anyway, one of the things with Claire, she's a witness to multiple situations as well. She's also a victim of the situation up here. She's the one whose kids were kidnapped.
Yeah.
So I was hoping you might be able to work together with her. She's, like I said, with a lot of women, it ends up being when I tell them about my issue, they have an issue too, so they want to compare stories instead of focusing on the fact that I'm trying to get them to hear the abuse we're turning in.
Yeah.
So...
I have issues too, but I haven't brought them up.
Oh, you brought them up, but not during, you know, while we're working on something serious and important. Like that's one of the things about most people. They don't get down to business when it's somebody else. My little sister and her friend Ed took me for over $2,000 altogether, but they just treated it like it was hanging out, like they were getting paid to hang out with me, and then they took my money and ran.
That's ridiculous.
It is. But at the same time, I mean, it's my sister and my niece. I do believe that their lives were threatened. I do believe it. I do believe her when she says that the police followed her. I do believe her when she says that somebody from Colorado threatened her and my niece in person. And the reason that I believe that stuff is because, well, the sheriff had already done that to multiple people that I'd stayed with and multiple people who I'd helped. And multiple people in town had come up to me saying that people were threatening to kill them and their friends and family in town. And multiple people in town had threatened to my face, threatened to kill me and my friends and family. So I made sure it's documented. The most important part, though, isn't the stuff that I documented. It's the stuff that they documented because my predators in law enforcement busted themselves.
Right.
Leslie Snell claimed on the civil protection order that she wanted to get, she claimed that she didn't have any other court stuff going on with me. And the reality is, I'd been trying to turn her in for almost a year by that point. And when it came to putting me in prison, her name was all over all of my paperwork. Meanwhile, they had to drop the charges and let me out of prison because there was literally zero evidence of the crimes they were claiming I committed.
Right.
All they had to do is prevent me from going to court against Leslie Snell. Then she automatically wins. Because she automatically wins, that cuts off my ability to go to the courthouse to try to turn anything in. Meanwhile, I'm her predator, not the other way around, right? That's the way they want to paint it.
That's not the way it should be, though.
That's right. It's not the way it should be. And that's what getting a friend or family member who's not just gonna tell me that, but who is willing to tell the courts that, willing to tell the police that, willing to document that, and even to call the media if need be, which it does need be.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with Claire. She's trying to find the time, but with everything going on there, like I'm getting screwed by her misfortune.
Yeah.
It's not a Claire is out to screw me over thing.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that we're supposed to do with friends or family members, if they do something that's hurtful to us, is we're supposed to go to them and we're supposed to tell them that it hurts. We're supposed to tell them what they're doing, that it does hurt us and why.
Yeah.
And if they're our friend or family member, they'll listen. And it's the same thing with bullies. When we're bullied, we're supposed to go to the bully and tell them how it makes us feel. If the bullying is because of a rumor, you go to the source of the rumor and you tell them how it makes you feel. But what does that result in? That results in you getting made fun of by the bully and their friends. Oh, did I hurt your feelings? Oh, poor you. Oh, this is the world's smallest violin playing just for you. Get the fuck out of my face. You know?
Yep.
So I followed all the rules that you're supposed to follow. They don't work. And then I'm told, oh, well, you should have followed this rule and this rule and this rule. I'm like, that's what I did to start. You're literally telling me to do all the things that I already tried to begin with. I didn't do the whole cursing and screaming thing until I'd been abused for over 6 months.
Right.
Anyway, I guess it's like 2:30 in the morning. I should probably let you go. But yeah, one of the things with people not getting back a hold of me is that I really do have a lot of really severe anxiety about that. One of the things with Claire, she was going to help me. Well, I guess it's 2:30 in the morning, day before yesterday now. But she was going to spend a full 8 hours helping me, which is what it takes to get it started.
Right.
After that, it's just an hour here, or 5 minutes a day to find out if there's any updates.
Right.
But she wasn't able to make it, and she told me, because I was a little bit late because I had to run an errand for a guy who's running me ragged, running errands for him. But I let her know I'd be about a half an hour late. She said, well, I'll be here even if it's an hour. So I called her a half an hour later. She didn't answer. I called her an hour later. She didn't answer. And I kept trying to get a hold of her, periodically throughout the day.
Yeah.
Is there any part of what I said that you'll be able to remember tomorrow?
Yep. I'll be able to remember it. No problem.
All right, cool. I'll make sure I have some pens ready. We probably won't be able to sit down and look at my computer or the evidence there, but I can at least show you the pile of crap that I got.
Yeah.
Also, I had to move my car. It's over in the parking lot over there, but I'm going to move it again probably tomorrow afternoon if I can get some help.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Miss Brin.
You're very welcome.
I suppose I should hang up on you so I can go to sleep.
Yeah, get some sleep.
Thank you for listening and be ramble at you. And be safe.
You're most welcome, and I always am.
All right, talk to you tomorrow. Good night.
All right, good night.
See? Not evil people. Anyway, you know how we end these videos. Good to be with you. Thanks for coming to visit. Stay out of trouble or don't get caught. Remember, you are your brother's keeper and your sister's keeper too, and no victim left behind.